Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for our webinar, The Colours That Win. We are joined by our Director of International Sales at Crescent and our expert custom framer and owner of Blackbird, Fernando. So all the way from Chicago, I'd like to pass them on to them now.
Good morning in Australia and New Zealand. I'm Kathleen Schaefer with Crescent, and I just wanted to introduce Fernando from Blackbird Gallery. He's with us today to talk about sports framing, and I will turn it over to him since he is the main event for the night.
The main event, wow. Well, good morning, everyone from Australia and New Zealand. Locally here in Chicago, it's around 7 p.m. But I just checked Google, and some of you have some pretty good weather, 57 degrees and sunny, and some of you might be a little bit more spotty with some rain showers coming in. I'm not a meteorologist, by the way. But in any event, it's an honor to work with Antons and Crescent to bring you this presentation live from the Windy City here in Chicago. So who am I? As Kathleen just introduced me, Fernando Mastriani. I started in the picture framing business in regional sales in New York City for a local distributor down there. After that, in 1995, I was later recruited to move to Chicago here and work for Crescent in the international sales department as Crescent was starting to expand. In the interim, I also worked for various other molding companies on both a regional and national sales capacity here in the United States. And it was around 2006, for family reasons, that I made the decision to stop traveling and start my own business. At the time, I was strictly wholesale, and the name of my business was CPF Services, which stands for Chicago Picture Framing Services. Only later in 2008, when the recession started to hit, I later renamed the business to Blackbird. One of the nice things about what we all do is we are, for the most part, recession-proof. So when I did decide to go into retail and tap into the retail dollars, it was a good move for me to do. So here I am. Coming to you live from Chicago. And when I did rename the business to Blackbird Framing, I decided, you know what, I better lay out some kind of strategy as to what I want to do for the retail side of the business. So there are four things that I really focused in on. The first one, which should be inherent with all of us as framers if we want to be in this business, is service, service, service. That is paramount in my opinion. You know, with service, everything else follows, right? But with the service, you need to make sure you have the quality, the craftsmanship, and the design. And when, you know, I'll be talking more about the quality and the design and the craftsmanship as we go along. Number two, what's really also important is your best customer is going to be an educated customer. So here at Blackbird, we sell through education. We educate the customer on the quality materials that we use. And when I say quality materials, here at Crescent, here at Blackbird, we use no paper mats. We use only Crescent conservation grade boards, and we use the select and the rag mats only. My personal philosophy on that is, if I'm going to put the time and labor to cut materials, I might as well cut the really good materials and get paid more to do that. Number three is I felt that I needed to have a really strong website presence. Here at Blackbird, I'm off the beaten path. You may or may not hear a train go by during this presentation, but being off the beaten path, customers like to do their research, and they like to find someone that they trust and they know that will do quality work for them. So having a good website presence is extremely important. And on that website presence, I put something that I felt was important to get people to walk through the door. And you'll see, when you go to my website, you'll see 1/4 of the page is dedicated to what I call the Internet Special. And the Internet Special, once again, gets people into the door. But what's really key about that is 8 out of 10 people that walk in thinking they're going to do the Internet Special with an in-stock molding, just regular glass backing, and so on and so forth, 8 out of 10 end up upgrading. Because when they walk in, they don't realize that they have a nice piece that is either signed, numbered, the lithograph, whatever the case may be. So we end up putting a matboard around it, the piece becomes bigger, We end up putting conservation grade glass on it, and so on and so forth. So something that maybe they may have spent, they think they were going to spend $89, then at that point may go into the price point of like $210, $229, and it's adding value, especially if it's a really nice piece. You really want to educate the customer on using the right materials. And then the last thing that we do here at Blackbird is we offer same-day service. That's something that that our customers do take advantage of every now and then. And it's very important because, once again, it differentiates us from someone else saying that we'll do something for you the same day. And to do that, we have in-stock moldings, and we also stock 4 different matboards. We stock a white, a black, a blue, and a red. And with those various combinations of matboards, we can cover the gamut of every single sports team here in Chicagoland. The Cubs, the White Sox, the Blackhawks, the Bulls, etc. The blue and red for the Cubs, the white and black for the White Sox, the black and red for the Bulls, the black and red white for the Chicago Blackhawks, and so on and so forth. And also, once again, those colors are also really good for kids' teams and universities and so on and so forth. So we do that, and the customers love it. During the holidays, every now and then you get people walking in at the 11th hour, and guess what? We have the colors they need, and it's a minimal cost to us. I mean, the black and white we stock all the time, minimum 5 sheets at a time, and then the blue and red we keep minimum 3 to 4 sheets in at a time. It's just a great way to differentiate yourself, and it's a minimal cost. So once I figured out the strategy, I went one step further and dedicated 1/4 of my website presence to sports framing. Okay, so that is something that here in Chicago, and I'm sure you have the same thing in New Zealand and in Australia, sports fans they're fanatics. They're crazy about their team. They'll sport the colors and all that. It's a great way to connect with your client, and it's a great way to tap into their emotions and generate excitement. Capture great moments through custom framing. When someone brings in a couple of tickets, pictures that they took at the ball game, sporting event, what have you, and you're customizing that piece for them and you're framing it, you incorporate all the colors that are necessary to make that a special piece for them. And that's what Crescent and Antons is bringing to you. They're bringing you Crescent Select colors. It's a great marketing tool that you'll see colors that win. And this, once again, will differentiate yourself. It's a unique marketing tool, and it'll really show that you're the expert, and it'll also show that Crescent has gone through the trouble of identifying all the different colors for all the different teams and all the different sports that take place in your neck of the woods. So, okay, so here we go. You look at this next piece that's coming up, the design considerations. That there'll be a piece coming up soon. But the design considerations that we take the time to talk to our customers about are as follows. When they bring in anything to be framed, is it a garment? Is it a 3-dimensional piece, whether it's a baseball, a bat, a glove, whatever the case may be. In this case, here's a glove that someone needs framed. We have baseballs, we have bats. Is it a photograph? Is it a jersey? Is it a limited edition? In other words, is the jersey signed? Is the photograph signed? These are all things that you want to make sure you're taking into consideration. And the other thing we take into consideration is the size of the frame. If it's something of this nature where it's a glove or a ball, we obviously need a shadow box frame. And I'll be showing you all these samples later on. Because the deeper the frame, obviously, the more you could do with shadow boxing. The other thing that we take into consideration is, do we want to stay in the parameters of a standard size 3240 board? Or if we go into the bigger size, which is 4060, then we have considerations of, are we using plexi or are we going to use glazing like glass? And it does take the price point up. So that's something, at Blackbird, I mean, obviously we want to sell more, but we also take into consideration, hey, does the customer want to go into the 4060 category? So, I'll be showing you more of those later on with regards to different designs and different ideas as to how we do it. This particular case, I'm just going to hold this one piece up right now. This is something that we cut out of 8-ply matboard with our Valiani CNC machine. And with this right here, we did a hand-wrapped silk spacer that goes into a shadow box. The other thing you could do with the Valiant is you can cut strips that work into a shadow box as well with just your regular mat boards. But we'll talk more about that later, and I'll show that all to you guys at a different time. So yeah, so once again, if it is a collector's item, you want to make sure that you're using conservation-grade materials. It is very important. It'll help preserve the customer's memories. Think long-term for them, and as you think long-term for them, you're fostering a really good customer and client that's going to come back over and over again. I can't stress enough that using premium quality materials like the Select will help you differentiate yourself from that low-end volume framer that, you know, why do you want to be down here bottom feeding? I would rather do, I would not want to do 100 pieces down here. I'd rather do only 20 pieces up here and make just as much money. So focus on the quality versus quantity. On this next piece, you're going to see this particular piece incorporates just about every single facet of custom frame. It's a great example of all the colors that are in there. It really brings out the spirit of the blue and red for the Chicago Cubs. It's a great design. It covers the gamut of the newspaper, the three-dimensional with the ball, the floating objects, the lanyard. It also has baseball cards in there. And in the next picture, you'll see that there's some pins that are up there on the top left. And it also has the banner of the Cubs. And then you can see how the newspaper is floating. So really, it's a great piece that incorporates it all. The next picture you're going to see is where a baseball was incorporated with the way this was done is on the back end of the, if you can visualize it on the back of the board, what we do is we go through and then we sew through the stitches of the actual ball. And then as you're pulling it through and tape it, the ball stays put. So it's a lot of fun. Once again, that piece just happens to encapsulate everything there is to be done in a shadow box frame. This next piece here, this one's a lot of fun. This is obviously, not obviously, but it is digitally enhanced, and it shows and it captures the brand identity. That runner is going through and breaking through to score that touchdown. You know, needless to say, or maybe you guys don't know this happens to be the Tennessee Volunteers. The colors, if you are from Tennessee, you will know immediately that these colors identify with the brand because you're a loyal fan. You see that orange and you know right away it's the Tennessee Volunteers, and it captures that emotion and the excitement of that runner going through. On this next one, you're going to see a triple mat that really covers all three colors of the particular team. I like this because with the bold blue on the exterior, your eye goes right to the ball player. In this particular case, this particular piece could be further enhanced with a V groove around it. It could be further enhanced with perhaps a New York Giants logo on the bottom. Whatever the case may be, it's a great way to work with a CNC machine, the Valiant, and you can really enhance this piece even further. But as you can see, you're with the white, red, and blue. It's just a great piece. It really speaks to the true team colors. Next is a piece that is actually signed, and it's not numbered, but it's signed by the Dick Butkus, who's a Chicago Bears Hall of Famer, really good football player. Here you have the white, the orange, and the blue, and that top mat is really killer. It's a great mat board. It's a textured faux leather, and it's by Crescent, and it mimics the pigskin of a real football. So here you have the essence of, you know, a football, if you've ever held one, and it's textured, and you have it in the design of the framing, and you know the piece is properly done with incorporating the colors of the Chicago Bears with the blue and the orange. This next one that you're going to see is a jersey. I'll talk a little bit more later on how we would mount that. I actually have a sample that I can show you. And everything that we do here at Blackbird, we hand sew all the pieces on there when it comes to jerseys. And we even go through the painstaking of making sure that the needle is going through the spot of the jersey where the actual threading is on whether it's on the shoulder, on the neckline, and so on and so forth. This gives you the ability to take the garment out, and if the person ever wanted to wear it 20, 30 years from now, it's undamaged. We don't use any glues, no adhesives, and we certainly don't use any staples. And we've had people bring back things that are stapled, and then we go ahead and redo that for them. This next piece is a great piece that shows 3 mats, but if you look at it, sometimes you might think it's 4. It's 3 different colors, right? But it looks like 4 because you have the red, blue, and then the white, and then you have the V grooves, the channel V groove that's in there. And it's just a great example of using the white as a top mat when you have the open V groove to show the red underneath that. And then you have red 2 different layers. And it's just a great way to show the team colors of the Chicago Cubs. This next one is a design that is done on the Valiani CNC machine. The Cubs are cut out. It looks like it's one of those pieces that perhaps it's 2 mats, but it's actually 3 mats. Because if it were only 2 mats, what you have is you have the red and then the blue, and then you would only see red lettering pop out, which you could do that. But in this case, we put blue underneath it and just let the 90-degree angle of the cutting of the 2016 World Series and the Chicago Cubs accent with the white all the way around. It looks great. It's one of my favorites. And it can be personalized with anything. On the bottom, you could put 2016 World Series champions, and on the top, you could put I went to the game, or whatever the case may be. Many ways to personalize this. This next one is one of the fun ones also. It's a channel V groove with the Cubs logo on the bottom. This happens to be one of the beloved players. His name is Chris Bryant, and he's one of the players that helped the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. So why are we choosing Crescent Select team colors? Use this marketing tool. Crescent and Antons have gone through the colors of each one of your teams and sporting events that take place in Australia and New Zealand for all your favorite local teams or the national teams. And the challenge comes in when perhaps you're on one part of the country and then maybe you're on another part of the country. Let's say you're in Adelaide and a fan from Perth wants his or her team colors framed. You pull out this brochure, it's going to make you look like a pro. Simply because, you know what, I have this, these are the official team colors, and it's going to be you are the authority, you are the pro on this. And it's very important that you take advantage of this. And I mean, how can you go wrong? Colors that win, it's such a great name for a catalog as well. So once again, as far as the whole colors, they play a huge, huge part in identifying with the team. I can't think of any sporting event that you would go to and not see that. It makes a connection, it captures the emotions, and Antons is a distributor that's taken on the responsibility, because it is a big responsibility, to bring in the inventory. And Crescent is offering a way for you guys to grow with these new colors available to you. And you could now do that, capture the moments and the spirit through the colors of your favorite team. Colors That Win has it all. It's all laid out. I can only encourage you to take advantage of it. Because here at Blackbird, we have this one here in the States. I'll pull it out really quickly. Whenever someone comes in from another part of the United States, we pull this out and say these are the official colors. And the people are like, wow, that's great. You know, it gives you authority to say that. So here is some of the reasons why you would want to go with colors versus anything that's plain white. And I'm just going to give you some examples of colors versus white. Here you have a great, obviously, 2 great fans enjoying your national Socceroos team. They've gone to the extent of painting their faces, hats, and even put the stars on there. Now, look at this next one. Dramatic difference. Huge. This right here points out, and everyone will be flabbergasted or excited to see this one because of the fact that it really brings in the emotions and it captures the true colors of the team. Here are a couple more examples. Right here is a 4-window opening with your national team. Looks okay. I mean, it doesn't really excite me personally. But this one right here, it does excite me. This right here, you're bringing in the brand, you're bringing in the identity, and people will immediately see that, you know what, this is the team. this is the way it is. This next one I'm about to show you shows the top white mat, and it incorporates a little bit of the green underneath. You know, and it's okay. It does the job, so to speak, but it doesn't do a great job in my opinion. Let me show you this next one now. Same image, and this one right here, what we've done is we've triple matted this one. And by triple matting it, we've incorporated the yellow, the white, and the green. But as you can see in the image, you see the Australian flag, the national flag. So what I've decided to do here is, after cutting out the 5 stars to represent the flag, is you can slide a piece of blue board underneath here that identifies the flag, and now you're incorporating 4 colors. And it really just, it'll help separate you from anyone else. Once again, it's a tool, and why not show it to the customer? Let them make the decision. You know, when it comes to sports, and I'm sure all of us agree on this, the one constant is the color, right? No matter what is being framed, color selection of the team gives you the brand identity, and colors are really key to capturing the team spirit. On my way up here today, the Cubs had a home game because we're not too far from Wrigley Field here, about a mile away. And it's a sea of blue and red when you're driving up Clark Street coming here to Blackbird from Wrigley Field. You know, whether you're framing a signed jersey or any other valuable, a family photo, a sporting event, we go directly to the colors to help us grab the attention and make that emotional connection for the particular time of the event that we went. And it helps you really remember the event that much more, because once again, it's the color that's going to really make it pop in your head, and it's something that it's going to make that connection for you. That's really what it comes down to, and you got to remember it. So as we continue to talk about colors, you know, sports fans, let's face it, you know, I'm wearing this black right here with my logo on it, and black and gray happen to be colors for Blackbird, so that makes a connection for me personally. But sports fans want to belong to a group, and when they're given the identity of a team, they wear those colors. Once again, when I was driving up here, everyone was wearing blue, red, or white going to the Cubs game. And you're never going to go to any sporting event and not see someone wear the sports colors. Probably 99.9% of the fans that show up are going to be wearing some kind of color that represents which team they belong to. And it's all about the colors, whether it's cricket, rugby, Australian rules football, netball, Quidditch, or if it's goalball or touch. In one way or another, fans show up in their team colors, and that's really what it comes down to. And they'll come to the game with their faces painted, scarves, hats. I've even seen people with jeans, pants that they paint themselves and they color themselves. But I think you get the idea. Fans really want to identify and want to be part of it. And they want to feel like they're part of the team as well. All sports fans truly understand the loyalty and so on and so forth. So getting into the whole colors, you know, when it comes down to identifying with the color and the team, it all comes down to one other word, and that's brand. This is a really important concept for us as custom framers to realize, is to understand that in the sports world, color equals brand. A lot of team owners here in the States, there where you guys are, or in Europe, wherever the case may be, the team owners spend a lot of money on brand. And that's because they want to foster loyalty, and they want to foster their true team spirit and have consumers buy any of their products, whether it's a coffee mug or whatever. So why not us incorporate that into the custom framing? They truly understand the strength of their brand, and that comes from emotional connections with the customer. So we need, as framers, we need to make that connection with our customers when they walk in by showing them the colors. It is the primary reason why consumers prefer brand name products over any generic name product. With that in mind, a customer will buy something that is branded versus something that is not branded. And even though it's going to be less expensive, they'll spend that extra money to get something with the true colors and the true brand. The richer the emotional content of a brand gives you that mental representation, and then the more likely the customer is to be a loyal user. So for sports brands, once again, for sports teams, that brand is absolutely tied into the team colors, which allows us to immediately make that emotional connection to the favorite team. You know, whenever I see blue and red here in Chicago, I automatically think of the Chicago Cubs. And I'm sure when you all see the yellow and the green, you guys automatically think of your national team. That's just the way it is. So Crescent team colors creates that excitement and let your customers feel that they're part of that team spirit. So once again, show it to them. You have nothing to lose. So as I just said, you have nothing to lose. So why not use the Crescent team colors in framing the most valuable moments of their sporting events? Sports fans are so many things, right? I mean, I know I'm a big sports fan, so I'm passionate, I'm spirited, I'm very emotional when my team wins or loses. Prefer winning, obviously, and I'm loyal. So when I want to buy something that really ties into my sports team, I'm going to really stick with that true color versus anything that might be fake. And as sports fans, we're also very animated, and we love our favorite ball players, whether it's basketball or football, whatever the case may be. We have one or two players that we follow. And us as the framers and as the designers, we cannot be afraid to incorporate the colors. We must do that. We would be doing our clients a disservice if we did not show them the fact that we now have this at our disposal where we can show them all the team colors. And trust me when I say this, the customers will be ecstatic. They will thank you so much that you will be able to show them the colors and say, hey, let's incorporate this and let's really bring out the true spirit of you guys being the fan. It's just a great way to encapsulate everything. One thing to also keep in mind is that not only are these good colors for your national teams, like here in the United States, a lot of these colors that Crescent has come out here in the United States are good for a lot of primary schools, a lot of universities, kids leagues. So all of these colors mimic the professional team colors. So when I said I stocked those 4 matboards, I stocked them, but they're not only good for the professional teams, they're also good for a lot of schools and a lot of kids leagues that play sports here in Chicago. So capture the family spirit, capture the family moments and the great colors that are available to you, and enhance that fan experience. Make the connection to their favorite team with their favorite color. On this next slide, what you're going to see is the Chicago Blackhawks. And you'll notice all the way around the outer edges of the groove, which is a nice little touch, and it helps pop out the color. Also notice that the picture inlaid with the Boyd's jersey, that all ties in together, and it makes that nice emotional connection. It's that great little picture incorporated with the jersey, and it's just a great way to incorporate it all. That's really the only way to put it. It's a nice bold red as well. So once again, color to identify. So at this point, there are 3 different governing bodies that everyone looks to make sure that we're establishing and maintaining quality standards. And Crescent adheres to all 3 of these. So you have the Library of Congress, you have the Fine Art Trade Guild, and then you have the PPFA, which is the Professional Picture Framers Association. And they all set the guidelines for the preservation of artwork. All of the Crescent matboards that are manufactured with these standards in mind, and all of them are set to ensure that the products that are closest to your artwork, and this is very important, because when your artwork is touched by the matboard, you want to make sure that it's protected and being displayed for many years to come. So you don't want anything just touching the back of your artwork. You want to make sure that it's a conservation-grade board. I can't tell you how many times we get people bringing in things here, and the artwork is burned all the way around. That's because it was a bad matboard. So these are key benchmarks for conservation quality. It's important to understand because customers look to you to know why the products that you are specifying and why they need the right ones to preserve their memories for years to come. Crescent produces all of their boards using 100% virgin alpha cellulose fibers for lasting quality. So all the lignin is taken out and it's all acid-free, and it's buffered to a neutral pH. That would be the Crescent Select. And then you have the Crescent Blackbirds, which start off with 100% cotton, and it's the purest form of conservation. So you have conservation, you have quality, and the most important thing, well, they're all important, but one thing that you also need to consider is the deeply pigmented surface papers. What does that mean? That means these colors that are the top layers, they will never fade or bleed. They're resistant. And I don't know how many, I know I've got many times people bring it in and the colors are just, that true blue is no longer blue, that true red is no longer a red, you know? And with the Crescent Select as well, that white core will always stay white. So once again, you want to make sure that the colors are bleed and fade resistant, offering the white core, so the conservation core is there, and all of these are standards that meet or exceed the conservation standards as defined by the Fine Art Trade Guild, Library of Congress, and the PPFA. All of these things are versatile and they're vibrant, and that's one key word too. You know, you pick out a color to go with the team; those colors are vibrant. So why not use a Crescent Select board with the pigmented colors on top, so they never bleed or fade? It just doesn't make sense to use anything other than that, in my opinion, because you're doing the labor already. You might as well get more money for it. So this next thing, you have a chart here that is a great recap. It makes it easy for you to see why conservation boards are much more than just acid-free mats. Once again, they meet all the industry standards for quality, and here's the last word, permanence. Permanence. It's going to be permanent, so that's very important as well. Educate the customer on that. That's all I can say at this point. I'll talk more about that. So here you have, you know, some great marketing materials, right? You have separators that will help you distinguish your different boards and educate the customer. I can't stress that enough. These are great marketing materials. Take advantage of that. An educated customer is going to be your best customer, without a doubt. I mean, here in America, I believe it's 59% of the consumers that do custom framing have at least a 4-year college degree. And, you know, and those are the best customers. They want to know why you're giving them the great products, and they appreciate it. And that's so important. So Crescent has come up with all these great, useful tools for you guys to use in your store. They have these dividers that'll help you foster the loyalty and the long-term customers that you want that will end up coming back because you are educating them. You have these stickers that you can put on the back of your Crescent framed up piece with the matboard. This, once again, you put on the back of the frame. It's like putting, you know, when you use a certain glazing that's conservation grade, you put a sticker on the back. Do that with the Crescent board, with the Crescent labels as well. The consumer will thank you for that. And be sure to take the time to explain not only the quality of materials used, but also take the credit for the work, once again, with this labels. And it really helps to build the trust and solidify the relationship with each customer. And here's a POP that shows you the good, better, best. You know, once again, have this out. Show it to your customer. They're going to thank you for it long term. That's what I would stress. Think long term. Okay, so in the end, we realized that the customers come to us with a variety of sporting items. We've had many different items here at Blackbird. We've had ticket stuff, signed jerseys, photos, photographs that are stamped at the ball game. We print them here for the people as well. You know, a foul ball that's caught by little Johnny, and then he puts his hands up and spills the beer on his father, so on and so forth. But in any event, your expertise as a framer is to take all these pieces, integrate them into a truly memorable design that will be spectacular for years to come. And you know what? When you incorporate the colors of the team, you're building that emotion and you're creating that excitement for the consumer, your customer, to bring it home and show it off. And that's what it is. It needs to be a showpiece. So let's take a closer look at some of our sports pieces that we've done here at Blackbird. Here you'll see something that one of our guys did, and he actually sold quite a few of these. This one he did not sell because on the bottom left, I don't know if it's your left or my right, on the bottom left on the ones that he did sell, he incorporated with the Valiani machine, the Cubs logo, which really works out well. But here you have a Crescent green suede matboard with an inlay of a Crescent light brown matboard, which mimics the dirt. So these are 2 layers of matboards with all the team players that played in the World Series. And it's a great little piece. We had some fun making that. This next piece that you're going to see is one of the more famous ball players here in Chicago, Kyle Hendricks. He has a really big kick when he goes up to do his windup. But here you have double mats with V grooves. And it's a great way to bring out the team spirit. And on the bottom, you have double openings as well. This next piece that you're about to see, boxing gloves. This was a fun piece to do. We incorporated this into a really deep shadow box. This was about 3 inches deep, if I remember correctly. And it was fun to do. We were able to fasten the boxing gloves onto the board via stitching through the back of the boards, and that's that. This next piece, goal is all I can say. I've listened to many soccer games in South America, and I'm sure some of you have as well. So this is a triple matted piece with inlays and V grooves. It adds depth, and it really gets that message across of that ball flying right through, especially with that bold red accenting the strip of the bold red in the ball. So that's a fun piece to look at. This next one, we had a fun time doing this. As you can see, it's a green suede, Crescent green suede backboard again, in the shadow box, and each piece inside of the shadow box is individually matted. And the way we held the golf club in there is through some fish wire through the backside, and then we pulled it really tightly so that way the club wouldn't slide down or anything like that. So that was a fun piece to work on. This next one, I don't think the guy needs any introduction. The number and the name says it all. But here we used multiple openings for the storyboard, and we did a bold black. So it's Michael Jordan with the Chicago Bulls, and we incorporated some pictures along with some text, and then the plate of which game it was. This next one is the beloved Chicago Blackhawks, a 5-time, and it's a pretty big deal here in America, a 5-time Stanley Cup champions. And in this case, we decided to use the Blackhawks red. But we've also done pieces like this where we use the Blackhawks black and we do the red on the inside. So it just depends, but it's a great piece. This next one you're about to see, we've done many of these. Once a year, we have the Chicago Marathon here. This right here, you have a nice blue, which, by the way, blue is a Chicago color for the flag. And then the V groove that goes all the way around it gives it the impression that it's almost like a double mat, but it also accents all the 90-degree cuts for all the different openings. So you see a lot of white, and it really pops and looks nice. And some of the items are recessed as well, which gives it more depth and more intrigue. The next piece here, with the Valiani cutter, we were able to get the vector file, which is what Valiani reads, and we're able to do the Reebok logo. And here you have the player's cleat that's signed, and we were able to stitch that through the back end again with some heavy thread. And you have an octagonal opening, which gives it a little bit more intrigue as well. It's a triple mat, and it was a lot of fun to do. This next one you're about to see, if you go to my website, you'll see 4 different stacks of molding, because this is a third base from the Chicago Cubs that they gave to a football team as a gift. And you'll see different layers of frames that we had to stack one on top of the other to get the real depth for the base. And on the back side of the base, what we did is we put a French cleat inside, and the French cleat is holding the base. In other words, the base just goes right on top of it, and then we're able to fasten it with some screws as well from the back end of it. But you know, it was a fun piece to work on, and we're very fortunate to do a lot of framing for the Chicago Cubs here. So, as you can see, sports framing is, in my opinion, is something that will never go away. It's truly one of the more creative and fun things to do in custom framing. It's a great opportunity for us as framers to collaborate and design for the customer, and it creates excitement. It really does, because people come in, and especially if your team has just won a big sporting event. I cannot tell you over the holidays, November and December, we framed so many Chicago Cubs newspapers. Every single time someone had a story as to where they were watching it. They were at a bar, at home, with friends and all that. So it's a great opportunity. It's an opportunity to build loyalty with your customer, trust that will lead to customers recommending you to other people, great word of mouth. We are definitely a word of mouth business as well. This is invaluable for the future success of your business. Lastly, well, not lastly, but one of the things as well that I would highly recommend you guys continue to do is really, really educate your customer. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Once again, an educated customer is going to be your best customer because they're going to want to know that you're using quality material, and they're going to value it. That's the other thing. You know what? They're actually going to say, thank you for telling me that. It's so important that you let them know, that you tell them why. You know, and let them know that it's a Crescent Select matboard. It's all conservation grade materials, and let them know why you should use this with a photograph that's hand signed by the actual player, or why you should hand sew something on the back of a board instead of stitching it or gluing it. You know, if you staple it or glue it, it's an inexpensive way to do it, but think 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the road. By doing this, you're really showing the customer that you care. It's all about the quality of materials, and that, you know what, you're the expert. You're the one that's trying to help them think long term. You know, I've used this line before where someone says, you know, yeah, but it's an extra $50, or hey, yeah, it's an extra $60. Well, you know, you just walked in here with a Starbucks coffee. I mean, how much money do you spend every month on Starbucks coffee? So we're grabbing those consumer dollars, and it works. Help them think longer term and get out of that commodity zone. You know, I started the business wholesale, and I'm so grateful I'm now doing retail because you're much more custom. You're mid to high end. The commodity zone, if somebody wants that, let them go to the local store. I mean, that's just my opinion. So you don't want to bottom feed on price only. You want to sell on quality and service. That's what you want to sell on. So Antons, thank you. And I love the Antons logo that says ready to inspire. So hopefully I've been able to inspire you as well as far as using quality materials. So at this time, I'd like to thank Antons again, and thank you all for joining me, and Crescent as well, thank them for putting this venue together. From the Crescent side, as you all saw earlier, Kathleen is helping to work the camera, Kathleen Schaefer. And also from Crescent, we have the Director of Marketing, Doug Miller. On the Anton side, we have Damien Fong, who's a marketing manager. Thank you, Damien, and the entire Antons team and staff for organizing this event and for allowing me to be part of it with you. It's been a true pleasure. And now I'd like to open up for discussion. Any questions? So shoot away.
Thanks, Fernando, for everything. It's been so insightful, and I think everyone can agree with that. We do have a couple of questions from customers here.
Okay.
The first one being, talk to us about attaching an item to the backing and about supporting the glass in the upper mat. Okay.
I actually can demonstrate that immediately. So, I don't have any EPG. Okay, so when it comes to the glass, you have your glass and you have your frame. We put the glass inside the frame upside down, so you have the glass now inside the frame. And then what I've done here is I've taken strips that we cut on the Bagliati. These are actually, even though you see 4, you have 8 strips here, because you have 4 strips of color and 4 strips of the foam board. So what we've done here then is, with these 4 strips, then you have your piece that you want to actually frame. So to create the shadow box, you have your glass in here. And what I've done here, we actually do this sometimes for production purposes, because sometimes we have maybe Doug, not Doug Miller, but Doug, another Doug that works here, Maybe he'll cut the frame, and Michael will prepare the strips. So we will actually label which way they need to go around. So in any event, in this case, we have the letter A, and I've got the letter A in my hand. So what I'll do then is we put the strips in here that we pre-cut. And these actually would have ATG or some kind of glue on the backside as well. So you want to keep that in mind to make sure that you use double-sided tape and some glue on the back here. So you have that, put that in, and you put this in. So you're going all the way around in a circle for the most part. And then your last piece, you want to make sure you have enough snug in there, and it's going to nestle into this one little corner, which allows you freedom to make sure it's all perfectly snug against the other corner. So now at this point, instead of having, well, I'll show that in a second, but here is the glass with the shadow box. That's what you have. Okay? So whoever asked that question, I appreciate it, because this right here would be a frame as you would have a normal, right? No shadow box. Now watch what happens when you could charge anywhere between $30 and $40 more when you cut strips. Okay, so here you have this, V-groove, triple opening, so on and so forth. Over here, you have the shadow box, right? And it gives it that nice depth, and you're showing something. And then in a case like this, you might have a three-dimensional item. If you have a three-dimensional item, not only do you have your Socceroos here, your 3 baseball cards, well, excuse me, football cards, but you could now have the depth to put in some kind of three-dimensional item and incorporate it. So let your customer see this. I mean, you may actually want to have 2 samples up on your wall, you know, and show this. We actually do that here at Blackbird, where we show samples like this and we have them out already, so that the customer can see that. What's the next question? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's great. So we also talked about supporting the glass and sealing the glass.
Supporting the glass and sealing the glass.
Oh, supporting the glass, okay, sure. So as far as sealing the glass, we do this when when we have a customer that tells us that that they're going to be putting a piece of artwork or their memorabilia, whatever the case is, it doesn't matter what it is really. But whenever their framed piece is going into the bathroom, where there's going to be a lot of humidity, and I understand that you guys get a lot of that in Australia with all the, because you're next to the water. This is hard. You know, I gotta get this disconnected here. But this is a tape that looks almost like aluminum foil, and it's by oh, pardon me one second. I need a razor. I'm sure you've all been through that, right? Where you can't disconnect something, you see the razor to... There we go. Okay. So here you can see the, it's a it almost looks like aluminum foil or aluminium foil. It's a very thick, very dense type of tape. And what we do is we will go all the way around the frame. Here we have the photo. It's not necessarily painted right now. Then you have the matboard. And then you have the conservation grade glass. By the way, this matboard is called Breakcore from Crescent. So here what we do is we go in just a slight edge. I don't know if you can see that, but it's probably, I don't know what it would be in millimeters, but it's about 1/16 of an inch. And you go around, you wrap it around. Now this is, once again, it's a very sturdy tape, and it's really strong, and it will definitely keep the moisture and humidity out. And you don't want to go too far over the glass because you want to make sure the lip of your frame is going to cover it. And in this case, you can see that. So that's how we would seal it. We would go all the way around and seal it like that, and then you have something that is a barrier, and it's being protected from any humidity. Does that answer the question? Is that what you look for?
And they should have support the glass also.
That's fantastic.
Support the glass.
And supporting the glass in the frame, if you can. Elaborate on that.
Supporting the glass in the frame.
Huh. Okay. Well, that would be done with just. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I follow on that. Support the glass.
We're not sure we follow the question on the supporting the glass in the frame.
Yeah, that's just.
That's right. I think that will the tape and keeping the humidity in is great. Can we also know the name of that tape?
The name of the aluminium tape? Do you have the manufacturer of it?
The manufacturer should be Lineco.
Lineco.
Yeah, Lineco, and it's an aluminum tape. I can get that for you and send you the actual specs on that if you would like.
Yeah.
And we also have a question here about framing caps. So what do you think is the best way to frame a cap to make it look interesting?
Well, that's that's a great question. Because I have a cap right here. The way I would do this personally, that's a great question. I'm gonna bring out this shadow box that I have behind me here. And if you could visualize, I would cut some cavities. In other words, I would cut some openings inside of a board and do something like this perhaps. And it also depends on the integrity of the cap. In this particular case, maybe fold it one more down. This is just a plain frame. It doesn't have any backing right now. But do something of this nature where you're folding it down. It just depends. Do you want it to be three-dimensional? Do you want it to stick out like this? And maybe you have some other items. But in a case like this, and then you sew it from the back side onto the board. And what I mean by sewing it on the back side onto the board is something similar to this, right? Where you're literally taking your needle and thread, and this, I purposely did this in red, so that way you could see the red on the white. And you're going through the boards and you're threading it, and you're hand sewing on that on. And that's what we did here. This is all hand sewn on, as you can see the pattern in the back here. So as far as the baseball cap goes, that's what I would do. I would create some kind of cavity, and if you do a true baseball cap, you're going to need something really deep. So I would maybe angle it down like this, and when you angle it down, you don't need as deep of a shadow box, and then you want to be able to perhaps sew it in two spots or 1, 2, maybe fill it in with a bunch of paper so it holds its shape a little bit. You can do something like this, and then surround it with a bunch of photographs or wherever the case may be. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's fantastic. We've got another question here about double-sided tape for photos of memorabilia and how to conserve the photos. How long do you recommend they'll last, and what kind of tape to best save them?
Double-sided tape for?
When you're putting photos in a frame, what double-sided tape are you using, and how do you?
I wouldn't use any double-sided tape on photos. Let me show you something, if I may. I'm going to take this off. The only double-sided tape that there is conservation grade ATG, but I would T-hinge. I wouldn't bother using any double-sided tapes at all. I mean, we don't do that here. We T-hinge and that's it. So we have a conservation grade tape like this, which is pretty standard in the industry. And in this case, I'm going to take this photo here, which is a photo of myself and my father many years ago in Italy, Urbino, Italy, for that matter. So you would T-hinge it. 1, 2. So there's your hinge behind the, and then I'm sure many of you already know this. The T-hinge comes from the word T, so you're going to T the other tape all the way around it like that. And then there you have your T-hinge, right? So now the photo can go down. So We don't use any double-sided tapes on
Can you
photos.
demonstrate that going down again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the T end, right? There you go. Oh wow, I just realized that I put a note back there. This is from 25 years ago, actually more like 30 years ago. So, and then you put your backboard over it. At that point, your photo is stable, and it's I wouldn't use we would not use any double-sided tape on a photograph. We would do something like this all the time. Now on a baseball card, like I showed you on these right here, yeah, you could just do double-sided tape on this, and we did do some double-sided tape on this one right here. But on actual family photos or something like that, I would use conservation grade tape. I would not use any ATG at all or double-sided tape. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's really good. We've also got another question here about creating and building a deep box, and then also how do you hang a framed memorabilia with such a wide shadow box against the wall? Okay,
I got you on that. Which one would you like first? What here? Okay. Let's pretend this is a really wide frame. So what we would do here is we would use wall buddies. I don't know if you guys have those there. You can see this. It does two things, the wall buddies. Because if it is a really long, wide frame and it's heavy, the wall buddies will give structural integrity to this corner, okay, which is really important. But also, it'll instead of distributing the weight from here to here, which is what you typically have in a wire, right? And you're putting two hooks here. Instead of having the weight here and here and that's it, you now have the weight on the top and the side wall. So you're distributing the weight more evenly as well. So that's what I would use in a big piece like this. The other thing is, depending on how big the piece is, you might want to even consider something of this nature, which is a strainer bar. We do that a lot in really, really big pieces to give it structural integrity. If the frame is not, this is actually a pretty thick frame, but if the frame is like a thin frame, similar to something like this, for example, see how thin this is? That's a pretty thin frame. So in a case like this, if we have a really big piece, we would do this, and then we would use the strainer bar to hang it on, not the frame. You want the strainer bar to take all the weight and really hold up the frame. Does that help?
Yes, that's amazing.
The other one other thing you might want to consider is French cleats.
Can you explain what a French cleat is?
Yeah, a French cleat is yes, I can. A French cleat is pretend these are just pieces of raw wood, okay? A French cleat would be something like this. This would go on the back of a frame. So this would be on the back of the frame, and then this would be on the wall like this. So it would hook like this. They hook into each other. That's what a French cleat is. And I can get Kathleen pictures and send to you guys.
Well, I think that wraps up all the questions for now. A big thank you to you all the way from Chicago for demonstrating all of this for us today and giving us so much insight into the wonderful world of sports memorabilia. I think everyone's a bit more knowledgeable and has a bit more experience in all of it now, and I think everyone's excited to go ahead and start framing and using all these cool colors and things like that. And also, Kathleen, thank you so much for hosting it over on that side of the world. Yeah, thank you guys.
Let me show you one other item.
Sure. Wow.
Isn't that fun?
So cool. What have you done there?
This is all done with strips that are inlaid, and it's all cut on the Valiani.
Wow.
Exactly. That's what your customers would say. They would say, "Wow." Okay.
That's great. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Monique, and thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you having us, coming to your shops, and we look forward to connecting with you in the future. Hopefully, I'll see you in a few short weeks in Sydney for those of you attending the picture framing show there. And if you have any questions that come up, we can chat more then.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.